to our show, Film Talk with AJ Dean, a new podcast we have launched for the film and TV professionals. And my name is AJ Dean. I'm your host, and I have the incredible actor and comedian and very humble Paul Vato. Hello, Paul.
Hi, AJ. You've taken my line about being humble. So yes, yeah. And you know how difficult I find it to chat with people. So it's really a struggle to have to be here every few days to interview amazing guests and people. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here with me. Who we have in the building, Paul? We have MaGee. She is a celebrity journalist, a screenwriter, and a filmmaker. And I believe she is from Chicago, Illinois, your hometown. Check it out. Hello, Nye. How are you? And it's so wonderful that you're here with us. Hello.
Well, thank you, Miss AJ. Thank you, Paul. Peace and blessings to you both. And I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
This is wonderful. This is so thrilling. We are just having such a great time tonight. And I hope that everyone will enjoy this fabulous interview with our celebrity journalist. I want to get right into it and jump right into it, Nice. So I'm looking at this incredible and beautiful picture of you. I love your curls. I love your curls.
Well,
I wish I had them. You know, I don't, but I wish I did. And you have this gorgeous picture, and also right next to it, a movie poster called Simplicity Patterns. Incredible. Can you tell us what that is about, how people can view it? Tell us all the good stuff, Nye. Take it away.
Well, you know what? As a movie buff and as someone who interviews filmmakers and producers and directors quite often, and when I throw this question at them, right, as a fan and as a reporter, it does get a little frustrating when they can't tell us too much about the film. But here I am in that predicament. I even talked to the director right before the interview, my fabulous friend Dino, who I've known for years. He's still editing the film. He's going to release it. The goal is to release it this year. Yes, this year. He told me that I can say that it looks fabulous because he's editing it in 4K. Or no, it was shot in 4K, right? And the edit is just looking absolutely beautiful. And it's a short film. What I can say is a short film. We shot it in Detroit. A very small crew of my very wonderful friends that I developed in film school at Columbia College in Chicago. We've known each other for 10, 20 years. And the film is about a young man who grapples with some childhood issues as he is embarking on a new path and journey in life, present day as an adult. And I know that's so very vague, audience. I'm so sorry, but that's all I'm at liberty to say about the film. It's not released yet, but Simplicity Patterns, that is what it's called. And you can just probably follow me on social media or follow the director, Dino. You can see his full name, because I know he goes by his full name on social media. And he posts updates about the film as well. So yeah, so it was a wonderful experience working. What I can say, it's a wonderful experience working on a very intimate short film with passionate filmmakers that you have a built-in relationship with. That always makes for a wonderful filmmaking experience.
Yes, it sounds like it's very enriching because you have that bond of history together, of shared experience. And I think it's truly amazing. It sounds wonderful, and it sounds a great story. And I love the movie poster because it's this cracked, kind of like ground, and yet there's this incredible life, this green leaf plant growing through it, emerging through it. And is that symbolic? It must be symbolic of the story because it sounds amazing.
Well, yeah, I think anybody who resonates with, has a bounce back journey, anybody who feels like they have reached you know, when when you're at the bottom and you feel like you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but suddenly something happens, right? Whether it's through your own action or through the interaction of someone else, or even through a memory, a triggered memory that helps you find the courage to bounce back, that helps you kind of like the phoenix rise from the ashes. It almost feels like a rebirthing, a new you, right? When you feel like, hey, wait a minute, I can overcome that challenge. Or hey, I am not that that black sheep, unwanted, unloved individual that perhaps my family and so-called friends have made me feel like I am. And when you have that aha moment, it kind of feels like new life, a new you being born.
Absolutely. Wow. You know, I love that. Over to you. I want to send it over to you.
I don't know. I don't know if I missed this, and I think it's absolutely 100% fine that you're not giving away anything. I think I mean the writer, the director is 100% correct. It's like you know we want to leave people wanting a little bit more, and we want them to watch it. So don't you know, no need to apologize for not giving it away. How are you involved? And you said you didn't write it, but are you an actor in this project, or how are you involved?
No, I was just a fabulous assistant to the director, right? And yeah, that's it. Just assistant director.
Awesome.
Did not, you know, and then of course when you're working on a small film, it's kind of all, well, with any film, it's kind of all hands on deck, right? So, but especially on a small film. So, you know, I found myself at moments handling craft services with one of the actors. So, and the director's mom was helping on craft services. So, so yeah, it was a very fun, like I said, this was a film made by filmmakers who had an established bond, right, through our film community at school. And our relationships have just carried on through the years, right? And so when we came together to make this film, it was one of those things where it was just like family. It felt like a family reunion, right? It felt like, hey, it didn't feel like making a film. It just felt like a group of friends on the job, but it didn't feel like a job. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's that saying that we've all heard, when you love your work, it doesn't feel like work. When you love your job, it doesn't feel like a job. Yeah.
100%. And I think, I mean, it's very much like being a small business owner or a family business where, you know, something has to get done, it's going to get done. It's not like, well, this isn't my job. You know, hey, I'm just here. I'm his assistant. That's, you know, whatever he needs or she needs. No, it's like, oh, you need help over here. Bam, let's get it done. You know, family getting involved. So I love it. I mean, I love the whole process. And I feel like people need to know every aspect of this business, because when you make your own project, you know, even not, if you don't know how to do craft services, it's like, well, or if that person walks away, you're like, don't worry, I got this. So I think on all levels of every business, you know, the owner or the director, people need to know all aspects of a business so that no one can leave you high and dry. You're like, all right, they walked off. I can DP this. I can, you know, I know which lenses to use. You might not be the person you wanted, but at least you can get the job done. So I think that's wonderful, and just speaks to the unity and strength of the project. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I've worked on projects where, you know, I've come in as maybe a co-producer. And when I say projects, I'm talking about small, low budget, short films, right? Where the crew was like 20 people or less, where you have to wear multiple hats. And I think anybody who's watching this who wants to be in that community, especially the starting out working with a small crew, like you just said, you should expect to wear many hats, and you should want to, just to drive that point home. Learning multiple departments will help you in the long run, right? I found myself co-producing a project and script supervising. You know, so it's like, And I don't mind because I've always had that energy and that desire to want to learn. When I got into film, I wanted to be I wanted to become a filmmaker as a writer director. But once I started working in film, I saw, wow, I actually want to know what the AD does, what I want to know what all the lighting folks do. I want to know what the DP does. So yeah, I think that is important to navigate your way around the set if you can. You know, some productions, they don't want, if you were hired to work with a specific department, stay in your department. But yeah,
stay in your lane. No, and that's 100%. And I think it comes with being socially aware and then putting yourself out there. And if they say no, then no. Hey, may I help you with this? I mean, I was on a soap opera for a couple of months called The Bold and the Beautiful, and I remember leaving the set one day, and the next day I came back, and I remember that there was a garbage can that had been over here and now had somehow moved over here. So I'm like, ooh, continuity. So I tell I don't know if it must have been the art department. I'm like, I go, not for nothing, but that trash can yesterday was over there and now it's over here. Is there a continuity problem? And they're like, it's a soap opera. Like she was like, don't even worry about it. And then I never worried about it again because I'm like, well, they obviously know what they're doing, but they're just shooting so quick that, and the audience isn't going to go like, what? Like, oh my God, that moved from there to over there. So I was like, stay in your lane. You're the actor. Don't keep harassing them because it's not your job. You've already told them once and they said it's not important. Okay, it's not important. Whereas I was on a movie set and they were just so worried about the placement of a can of Coca-Cola on the stoop. And I think it was like back when ER was being filmed, because I was at my friend's house because they would film in his house on Kyler in Chicago. And I remember that a can of Coke was just moved inches and people were like, was that can here or here? They like panicked about it. So it just depends on the project. And I'm sure the bigger the project, you're an actor, be an actor, but I always feel I'll make nice with the wardrobe, with makeup. I know that I sweat a lot. I get hot. I let them know. I'm like, here, give me some of these tissues and I'll be more than happy to take care of myself. And they appreciate that. They're like, okay, he's a team player. So I think that's the important part is being a team player, but mind your lane when you have to. Just be socially aware that, they may not need, your advice on every little thing, so thank you for sharing that.
I was going to say good eye on noticing that trash can, because you would be great in the continuity department and the prop department, Paul. So good eye on that.
Soap opera, they don't care.
Oh, wow. I just learned something. Thank you for sharing that. That was really, really interesting. And I wanted to ask you, Nye, this is incredible. You've been in the entertainment industry for over 15 years. How did you get started?
Well, the short of it is, I'm that girl who dreamed as a child of working in the entertainment business. And as my earliest memories are just that, outlining a path, a plan, and following it. I said I, wanted to go to a particular art school, Columbia College. Paul, Columbia College in Chicago. So at that time, yeah, right. And so I wanted to go to Columbia, and I did, and studied film and television, film, TV production. That was my major. Screenwriting, editing, television, TV writing. Took some acting classes because I said I want to be a director. And, I was like, well, if you want to learn how to communicate with actors, you better take some acting classes so you can understand the world of actors, right? So long story short, I will tell you this. I remember, and I will, if I live to see 80, I always tell this story. I will always tell this story because I feel like this is just how I got in, how I got involved. I remember one of my film instructors when I was in film school, he was telling us, the students, one day, none of you are born into money. Well, most of you are not born into money. You're not born into families and the business and the entertainment business. So how are you going to get into the business if you move to LA? How are you going to break in? So he says, hey, you have to lie your way in this business, right? So I remember after graduating film school, I always knew I was going to move to LA. So I moved to LA right after film school, graduating. And I said, well, how am I going to get a job? What am I going to do? I don't know anyone, you know? And I remember that advice. I remember the teacher saying, well, lie your way in the business. So, you know, if you need an internship, if you don't need an internship, lie and say you need an internship. Lie and say you have experience, just enough experience on your resume to get yourself in the door. So long story short, I remember moving to LA, sending my resume out, seeking an internship, even though I didn't need one. I just wanted to get my foot in the door to a couple of post-production houses in LA because I had editing experience. And one of them at the time, one of the jobs I sent out for was for Miramax, right? And at that time, Miramax was still a major independent film studio, right? Big time, Harvey and Bob. There was no scandal surrounding the Weinstein name, you know what I mean? So I sent my resume off and everyone replied, I think, and Miramax applied. And I said, well, I'm gonna go with Miramax, obviously, for obvious reasons. So I got hired on. I didn't know at the time what the internship was gonna be. Till I got there and it turned out the internship was with Miramax's post-production team in LA. And it just so happened that that team was Quentin Tarantino's main producing team. Like my main boss is Quentin Tarantino's to this day right-hand woman, right? Shannon McIntosh. You guys can IMDb her credits. So shout out to her for giving me a job, right? And so that pretty much was the beginning of a wonderful career in what has been a wonderful career in the entertainment business, because I got the internship. I was an intern for about a month before they hired me. And they hired me full time and I worked there for about a year and a half. And then that door just opened up a lot of other doors. So long story short, that's how I got in.
Wow, that is such an incredible story. And we're going to talk more about that in a second, but I want to hand it over to Paul because Paul is from Chicago. Take it away, Paul.
Well, yeah, let me clarify that before people that are from Chicago, in Chicago, start writing in, if the people still do that, and harassing me, because I was actually born in Aurora, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. But I love Chicago. I lived in Chicago when I studied at, the Improv Olympic and the Second City, and I was doing a show, Touched by an Anglo, at the Second City in their experimental, Donnie Skybox, sorry. It was a show that I put together with some other Latino improv and sketch comedy actors, which to this day is still going 23 years later, 24 years later, which is almost impossible for an improv troupe to last more than 6 months, So,
wow.
So we had something really wonderful. And that's the reason I ended up moving out to LA and forming Barrio Speedwagon and doing Touched by an Anglo in Los Angeles. But yeah, I love Chicago. My first business. Are you familiar with a company called Oberweis Dairy? It's an ice cream.
Yes, I drink their lemonade all the time.
Well, I mean, the lemonade's delicious, but they're a dairy, and their ice cream is probably, well, let's just say my first business was Oberweis Dairy of Geneva, in Geneva, Illinois, a quaint little town in the Chicago suburbs by the Fox River there. And it's a very antique town. I think to this day, no corporations. I mean, there's a McDonald's in Geneva, but it's not in this downtown district where I was at the train station. So let's just say that was my first business. And when I started, I was 200 pounds. When I sold it 7 years later, I was 300 pounds. That's how delicious this ice cream is. But everything they do, the ice cream, the milk in glass bottles, the lemonade, I didn't know that eggnog had so many calories. If I'd have known that, I wouldn't have been drinking it a pint at a time. But that was kind of my history and my background. But I love Chicago. I mean, we used to go to Emilio's Tapas. I don't know if that's still there, but what part of the city are you in now?
I am actually in the south suburbs, so about 20 minutes outside of Chicago, so around the
Orland Park.
maybe or like Homewood area.
Homewood, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Homewood, Flossmoor.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yep. You're
100%.
familiar with Marian Catholic High School?
Yeah, of course. I went to Aurora Central Catholic, so I believe we probably wrestled or were in the same district as Marian, of course. Yeah.
Yep. That's where I went, Marian. Yep.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's such a great city. I mean, I have an affinity for the city, the people, the food, whatnot. But having studied at Second City and Improv Olympic, it just brings back so many fond memories. And the fact that the bars were open an hour later on Fridays and Saturdays, which now I'm in Vegas, it doesn't mean anything anymore. But growing up, that was kind of important to us that, oh my goodness, the city stays open an hour. The bars are open an hour later on Fridays and Saturdays.
That's cool.
Did you grow up there? You grew up in Chicago,
Well, no, I've always. Oh no. Well, let me be specific because I know Chicagoans are very specific about these things.
Yeah.
I grew up in the south suburbs. Okay.
But you grew up in the Chicagoland area.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And of course, then I spent 4 years in Chicago living down there when I was attending Columbia, right? And then moved to LA after Columbia. After I graduated college. Exactly. So then I lived in LA for about 18 years.
Okay.
And then came back here right shortly, maybe about a year before COVID. Yeah.
Wonderful. Amazing.
Yeah. I love that. You two have a bond there, being with your love for Chicago, and I love hearing about that. Oprah is from Chicago, and we're going to talk about her in a minute because I adore her. She's been a role model for me for so many years. I'm going to ask you, as a celebrity journalist, because this is incredible, you have interviewed amazing people. I'm going to list a few of them here. Oprah, our beloved Oprah, Tarantino, who you mentioned, Quentin Tarantino, Robert De Niro, Halle Berry, Samuel L. Jackson, Paul, wow, this is amazing, 50 Cent, and Tyler Perry. Are there one or two interviews or memories or moments in those interviews that stand out and are special to you, Nye?
Well, I will say of the ones you just mentioned, let's go with Oprah first, and then remind me, because sometimes I get so long-winded I forget. So I'll start with Oprah, and then Samuel Jackson is the second one of the names you just mentioned. So the reason why I say Oprah is because my friend of over 20 years, whom I've known since high school, he's an actor. He moved to LA from Chicago with me many years ago. And we used to always joke and say, he would say, from his point of view as an actor, and then from my point of view as a writer-director at the time, we would always joke and say, we'll know we've made it when Oprah interviews us, right? We used to always joke when we are interviewed by Oprah, we've made it. I couldn't have imagined that one day I would be interviewing Oprah. You know what I'm saying? So when that moment came and I'm sat there face to face with Oprah, and it felt like talking to a family member because she was so warm and so inviting. There was nothing cocky about her, nothing arrogant. She made you feel like you belonged in her space. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, right? So that was I'll always cherish that, right? And Samuel L. Jackson, I'll tell you this because this is wild. So let's go back to Miramax. I told you, and I'll try to tell you this without being long-winded, but it's just so amazing how life works full circle. So I told you that I started off at Miramax. This woman, Shannon McIntosh, was essentially my boss, her and a woman named Kim Berman, right? So that was in 99, 2000, maybe until 2001. So I leave Miramax, I go on to other jobs. Fast forward many years later to Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight. So The Hateful Eight came out, maybe 3 or 4 years ago? Maybe 5 years ago? no, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, right? I hadn't seen Shannon McIntosh since 2000. So there I am as a reporter at the Hateful Lake junket in LA. And the interview's in with the stars and the cast and everything. And I go out into the lobby and there's Samuel L. Jackson in the lobby, right? And I said, well, let me go talk to Samuel L. Jackson. So I go up to him and I start talking to him. And here comes Shannon. I hadn't seen Shannon in years, right? So there's this big reunion. Now, I knew she was there because she's been producing, co-executive producer for Quentin Tarantino's films for years. But I didn't think I would have a moment with her, right? And so she comes up, she's like, nah, and we have this reunion, and Sam looks, because obviously Sam knows her, and Sam's like, Shannon, you know her? And she's like, yeah, she used to work for me. And Sam's like, oh, hey, I think he gave me a big hug. So that's of the celebrities you just mentioned, those stand out because it's like that full circle moment with Shannon standing there with Sam Jackson, right? And then Quentin Tarantino was like right there. You know what I'm saying? It was surreal, to say the least.
Yes. Did you take lots of pictures for on these interviews?
Absolutely. And I have 2 Instagram accounts. The one Instagram account that you probably are aware of, I think we're following each other. I have another Instagram account that I haven't used in years, but that's the one I started with. And that's the one that is still up. I just, for some strange reason, I don't know why I switched. I don't know why I switched accounts. I can't tell you why. But a lot of my old journalist moments, red carpet moments, junkets, a lot of those photos are on that page. And I think all of those photos with Sam and Quentin and all those photos are on that page. Yeah.
What
and I'll probably share that out. If you include this in the final edit, I'll add the link on my Facebook page. I'll add the link to my other Instagram so people can go back and check that if they want to see it.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes, I want to follow that as well. Don't you, Paul?
100%. I don't know how to say this without being mean to myself, but my ex-wife used to say, "You're such a star effer," because I love.
Me too.
I mean, I'm like, I'm just a fan. She's like, no, and I, I'll do it with my friends that are celebrities that I've known for 20 years from the Second City days. And then it kind of wears off, and then it's just normal, So I just like to start out with a compliment, like, "Hey, obviously, I'm a big fan of your work," and then it just goes into a normal conversation because I'm maybe impressed a little at first, and then it kind of just goes away. But I have a club on Clubhouse called Celebrity, and I think at first it was just like, oh my God, I can't believe that this one word is available. I didn't realize Clubhouse was so early that many great names are available, and I've started many great clubs like just voiceover or money, but yeah, Celebrity was my first, and it's at my biggest club on Clubhouse with almost 8,000 members. But it's just so funny that yeah, I have this, because you want to learn, you can learn from them, you can chat with them, but they're just real, they're just people, they're just real people. So that's amazing that you get to interview all these high profile people, especially like Oprah being from Chicago and Harpo Studios being such an integral part of Chicago. And I had a friend from the improv world that actually worked for Oprah, so he had a lot of stories and we would share those. So yeah, that's I love that whole culture. And then it's funny when people say like, well, you're a celebrity, you've been on TV, you've been on TV, you've been in some films, and I don't even look at it that way. So it's interesting.
In fact, you're coming up. There's another TV show you're coming up with. Can we mention that, Paul?
Yeah, sure. But just like Nye, I can't divulge much information because it's a game show. It's called To Tell the Truth with Anthony Anderson and his mom as hosts, and I'm in the episode with Kim Fields, who was Tootie on Facts of Life, and I think it's pronounced London Hughes, who is a presenter from the UK, and Oliver Hudson, Kate Hudson's brother, and I think Goldie Hawn's son, maybe. And
Congratulations.
I've already given away a little bit. I'm obviously not the celebrity on there, but I'm on the panel, and I think that's all I can say for now. And it airs this coming Tuesday, which would be Tuesday, March 28th, I think is Tuesday. So on ABC, 7 p.m. Pacific. So we'll figure out what time that is. Oops, sorry. So I'm very excited about that. And I'm not supposed to give away any more information, whether I'm an imposter or the hero of the episode.
Thank you, Paul, for that. I do want to mention it. Next Tuesday is March 29th for everybody out there. Okay. So I want everyone to pencil that, actually pen that in on their calendar and watch Paul and support him when that comes on. And congratulations, Paul. I think I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of my co-host.
You see, I am a celebrity. Thank you.
Yes, you are.
You are.
If you'd like to interview me anytime now, please.
Absolutely. I'm surprised I didn't get the clip. They often send me preview clips to tell the truth. I'm surprised I didn't get a clip for next week's episode. I'm so shocked.
I'll as soon as the producer, I have a feeling one of the producers will probably contact me this week, because of course they want us to put it out there on social media, but they don't want us to reveal. They tell us how to do it. So if you don't mind, I'll mention if they could maybe send you a clip of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
Wow, I love this. I love bringing people together like you do, Paul. You love bringing people together. We all work together. We collaborate. This is so much fun. Thank you so much, Nye. I'm excited about that.
That's my job, to help promote and brands and, absolutely. That's what I love to do.
Where can people read your interviews? Or, and are you a freelancer, or do you have your own website where you put these interviews?
Well, right now I put most of them on my Facebook page, right? So I have a Facebook, which is MaGee, which is, you can see my name on the screen. And then on Instagram, my Instagram has a lot of just the photos of moments that I've had with, at celebrity in-person interviews. As a freelancer, like you asked, Paul, I work for EURweb.com, thegrio.com, Emmys, the Emmy Awards, freelance for the Emmys. I do freelance for BET every once in a while. So yeah, I work freelance for multiple outlets, but my main outlet, it doesn't feel like freelance because I work full time, would be EURweb.com. And so most of my links I post on Facebook, right? I try to do it daily, but I'm not good at it. People tend to just know if they're following me on any one of the outlets. I think people just kind of follow me on that outlet. If you're following my author's page on any one outlet that I'm writing for, then you just kind of go and click on that author page. There's myself in front of Bryan Cranston. Can I tell you my Bryan Cranston story really quick, please? First of all, I'm a huge Breaking Bad fan. I am a Breaking Bad fanatic. All right. And so there I am one day working this press event. Bryan Cranston is promoting a show. I think it's called Supermarket. I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, I get an opportunity to sit at a round table with Bryan Cranston. So I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Eisenberg, yes, Walter White, I'm so excited. So there he is, there I am. And there's like 3 other people at the table, his co-stars and the producers from this show. Now, mind you guys, nothing about this interview is about Breaking Bad. He's not playing a character. It's like animated or something, if memory serves me correctly. But I have Breaking Bad on my mind the whole time. And I'm embarrassed to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you anyway, right? So I says, I remember at the height of Breaking Bad, getting my brother into Breaking Bad and getting my friend on the East Coast, a Black guy who's not really into TV, into Breaking Bad. So I was thinking about these two Black guys that I managed to convert into Breaking Bad fans. And then I started thinking about the other Black guys that I know who were aware of my Breaking Bad fandom, because I was always talking about it on social media and how they got into it too. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, Bryan Cranston, Black guys love Breaking Bad. And and he suddenly goes into like Heisenberg character, right? He's like, I know. Because I think it came off like Black guys who are into drugs or drug dealers are into Breaking Bad. And I didn't mean it like that at all. And I think maybe that's how he took it, because his character was a big drug lord, right? And I'm like, oh God, I'm so embarrassed because that's not what I meant at all. So yeah, that was my embarrassing Bryan Cranston moment. He took it, with fun, right? But yeah, I just had to share that, guys, because that's one of all my celebrity moments of interviewing celebrities that I'm a fan of. That was the one time I feel like I embarrassed myself fairly.
Did the fellow journalist kind of like look at you like, what the wait, what?
I don't recall, perhaps, because I would think I was kind of like this, you know what I'm saying? I think in my mind I was like, oh, did you really just do that, Nye? Did you really just say it like that? I was just so nervous to be in his presence. I wasn't so nervous, and in my mind, I was too in my mind, overthinking the situation that it came out. Yeah.
That's totally understandable. That's so funny, and it's totally understandable. I get that, don't you, Paul?
Yeah, 100%. Sometimes that filter doesn't work. Like, well, it's but you were also letting him know that you've turned people on to his project, and he should be grateful. It just didn't come out exactly right. It's black dudes love Breaking Bad. Like, I know. It's so funny.
Wow.
I would love to follow. I hope you get to interview him again, and you guys chat about that, because how funny.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, and you know what, things have happened where it's come back to me, and I hear something, I'm like, that's hilarious. They're like, well, yeah, you said it. So a lot of times we hear things, we don't even remember them. So for him, it could have just been a throwaway line, but you've been thinking about this for the longest time. Just like there's this great podcast called Dead Eyes, and it's about this actor who got let go from Band of Brothers, which was filming in the UK, apparently because Tom Hanks said he has dead eyes, and it's been troubling him for 20 some years. But now he's made this whole podcast exploring that, and I think he had like Seth who's the comedian, not Seth, Seth Rogen, right? Seth Rogen, and he brought up the same thing. It's like, people have he's said things and people don't remember, or people have said things to him that were like, oh my God, I can't believe I just said that. And he's like, I've talked to so many people I don't remember. It didn't affect me as much as you think it affected me, but it's a great story though. Nye, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it really, really is. Thank you so much, Nye, for sharing that. And thank you, Paul. And you're absolutely right. I agree with you. 100%. I'm using your quote, 100%.
100%.
I love it. And I wanted to ask you, Nye, speaking of interviews, who would you like to interview next?
Well, I love Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman is my #1 favorite actor. And I would love to interview Gary Oldman, #1 on my list. And then followed by, in no particular order, Keanu Reeves, Christian Bale, and Idris Elba.
Ooh, those are really great. Oh my gosh, that would be so much fun, wouldn't it?
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, I know Keanu probably has John Wick 5 next year. I don't know if he's going to be promoting anything between now and next year. So maybe, I can get on somebody's radar at that studio and maybe get an interview with him. Many years ago, I used to run the Gary Oldman fan club online. That was ancient years ago. But I never got a chance to meet him. And so, yeah, I would love to meet and interview Gary Oldman.
Wonderful.
Amazing.
Put it out there.
Yeah.
We'll put it out there and hopefully it'll happen.
Yeah.
Putting it out there right now into the universe. And we're all thinking good thoughts that will manifest now.
Yes, I love that.
Is manifesting right now. You've interviewed so many incredible people, and would you consider writing a book about your interviews?
I had never thought about that, but that's a good question. I think now that you asked me, I would consider it, absolutely. Because here's why. I often get asked by folks who want to pursue this field as well, right? How to break in, how to overcome nerves if you're like an introverted kind of person, right? Which I, believe it or not, tend to be. I am kind of shy in social settings, right? I'm not an icebreaker kind of gal. I need that person who's the icebreaker in crowds. But I've had to learn to overcome my fears, right? In this industry. I've had to learn to overcome certain insecurities in this business in order to be a strong presence when I'm interviewing talent. So I think some of the tips and the tricks that I've learned for myself, I suppose I could put in a book to help other people, because some of these tips and tricks I've shared with individuals who've asked me, how do I do this? And who do I contact to get into this? And what do I say? And what do I write about? And, so yeah, I think I would do it, AJ.
Great, because I would love to read it and purchase it and support you. Wouldn't you, Paul? Wouldn't you love to read all the details of Nye's interviews and tips and experiences that she's had? It's so enriching her life. What do you think, Paul?
100%. I would. I absolutely would. I mean, I would. I hope you don't mind, and I hope it doesn't come across as selling, but I would love to get Nye on our Owl app, because I think it's an app that, I don't know if I've sent you the information, Nye, or not, but I think you would be wonderful on it. It's an app where you can monetize your knowledge, where people can call to talk to you. And I know that we're free with our knowledge. I mean, as an actor, you get the question many times over, especially like on Clubhouse, and we're there voluntarily. Sometimes, yeah, of course you get tips and whatnot, but that's not the reason we're doing it. We'd go hungry if we did. But we love sharing our information. But our time is valuable. So if you don't mind, I'll send you a link, which is now in the App Store, where you as an expert can set your own rate, even if it's $10 for 10 minutes or $20 for 10 minutes, and answer questions about, because it's weird, it comes easy to us sometimes, but even like you said, you almost need a wing person. So that's a strategic partnership. You can even talk about that. Like, hey, if you can't do it on your own, that's fine. Find a friend, because I'm kind of fearless, especially if there's a connection. I'm not going to approach somebody and I mean, I have, but it's easier if there's a connection. Like when my friend Wendy McClendon Covey from Reno 911, and she's now Beverly on the Goldbergs, and her husband Greg, we went to RuPaul's the Drag Con. RuPaul has this annual event. So this was right before COVID, I think. And what's her name? Visage was there, and she works with, Wendy knows her. And I was like, hang on, let me reconnect you guys. And I just went up and I was like, hey, I'm with Wendy McClendon Covey, and she wants to say hi. She's like, yeah. And there's, this huge line, but I'm like, and Greg, her husband's like, you're kind of fearless. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not asking anything from her. I'm actually trying to create something that's the synergy that's better. Like, let's introduce people. That might be a bad example, but if you can get this little nugget of commonality, then I think you can talk to anyone. But I could see people calling you to find out about, how do you talk to celebrities? How do you set up a celebrity interview? Like, I would like to know that. I mean, you can't just really reach out. Do you go through their publicist? Do you go through their manager? Things like that. I have so many questions. I would call you an owl to find out all these things. So I'll send you the link if you don't mind.
Yeah, please do. Yes, please do. Thank you.
We would
I
love to
love
have you on
that.
the platform as an expert. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I love that idea. Here we are coming together. I love it. You have an incredible company called Utopia. Can you tell us about that? It's a multimedia company.
Right. So the name of the company is actually a play on my name, actually. It's Utopia. And I wanted to call the company Utopia because I feel like that encompasses like all the crazy ideas that I have for projects in terms of short films, audio projects, social audio projects, podcasts, visual projects. I feel like if one would say, man, I feel like my mind is a circus, right? A circus of art, a circus of filled with like passionate creators, artists, musicians. Utopia would be the name of that circus, right? So anyway, the company is very, very new. I started this company during COVID. And I started this company because I realized I was already working as a independent artist in terms of creating social audio, creating podcasts, producing shorts for film students, right? And so I thought to myself, how can I, people started saying to me, Nye, you are the company, you are the business.
Yes.
Right? And you are the services. Like people started calling me for, I need you to help me put this together, write my press release, help me package this, help me find this producer. Like you are the go-to. So my company really is my services and the small crew of people that I work with who are podcasters, social audio. So we write, we've been writing podcasts. It's really social audio and visual content, right? Short films and podcasts and audio narration. Like I have an actor friend of mine who's audio narrating 2 books so far. A longtime friend who's published 20 books, right? So that's really what we do. For years, I've been contacted by people who are either in college, studying journalism, they've graduated, or they're in high school and they want to be mentored. And so I also mentor and foster content creators and digital journalists. And just, I like to refer to them as the next generation of storytellers, right? I did a career day just yesterday for a high school, which resulted in a handful of students wanting mentorships and guidance because they want to be journalists and or filmmakers, and they don't know, they're clueless as expected. They're just kids, right?
Yeah.
And so they were very excited to speak to someone like me, and I'm very excited to speak to them, right? it's so, one gal, I was so excited. One gal said, I want to study mass communications, but I also want to be a filmmaker. Should I go to film school? And I almost felt bad for telling her, you really don't need to spend 4 years in film school. I did it. I love the experience. I'm not going to tell you not to do it, but you don't have to do it, right? I said, you're in a position right now, young lady. You have the equipment and the tools at your hand right now to go out and make a film. I said, you don't quite understand what I mean by that right now, but you will once you make your first film as an independent.
I was working with legendary film producer Roger Corman. What was that like? And do you have a favorite experience?
First of all, you have to understand, when I was middle school age, young girl, right, watching Roger Corman films, which I probably shouldn't have been at that age, and just at Roger Corman being one of the filmmakers at a young age, inspiring my creative drive, inspiring me wanting to be in film. So having been a longtime fan of Roger Corman, And then going to film school at Columbia College and having a Roger Corman class. We had a class on Corman's films and his influence and impact in the industry, which I took. So I couldn't have imagined one day that I would move to LA and actually get a job working for the man, right?
Yeah.
So what was that like? It was, I'll say this, it was one of those moments where, and even now I think to myself, and like I thought to myself back then, dreams really do come true, number one. And number two, that job, like most of the jobs I had up until that point, taught me a lot about the business of show, right? The business of show business. And in that particular capacity, we worked in home video. So this had to be, when was this? Early 2000s, maybe, I'm not sure now. When DVDs were still a thing. Okay, when you still would go to Hollywood Video and Blockbuster when that was still a thing, right? And so I worked in the DVD department, the marketing DVD department, and that experience taught me a lot at that time about how the home video market worked. When assets needed to be delivered, all the various players that needed to be in place to get a movie, get from theater to package for and ready for DVD video release, then the steps to video release and working with the video houses, and then working with the advertisers and the magazines and the industry magazines to place the ads for the DVD release. So that was a very enriching experience because it taught me a lot about marketing and promoting DVDs and VHS. I shouldn't even say that. Let me rephrase. It taught me a lot about the marketing, promotion, and distribution of home entertainment, the home entertainment business. Yeah.
Amazing. Yes, I remember
streaming
those
service.
days.
We have to Netflix and the streaming movies.
Yeah.
We have to I don't want to say blame, but came in and kind of shook up the industry. And you know, it's interesting. I interview a lot of television executives and producers, and they have expressed fear that the same thing is going to happen with TV and film in terms of going to the actual theater, because a lot of people are so, like right now, I think it's 60% of home entertainment audience are still consuming content on the television, whereas 40% is getting it online, but it's growing, right? And so what's going to happen when that 40% surpasses and becomes the 60%? So a lot of television executives and TV producers I've spoken to, they've expressed fear that, hey, it could come to pass where, television is not as important as it used to be. And what's going to happen to all of us who are in this space, who rely on the TV medium for our livelihoods, right? These streaming apps are kind of, I don't want to say they're taking over. I don't even want to say they're dominating, but hey, I'll use me as an example. I have a household, luckily, we all love our movies. Our cable bill is a little over $300 a month, ridiculous. Now, the reason why our cable bill is that because we have cable, internet, phone, and then everybody has a box in their room, a receiver in their room, right? But the thing about it is we hardly watch the cable. Everybody's on the apps watching Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Disney, because that's where all the great content is. Yeah. So now my household has been talking in the last couple of weeks, how do we get rid of cable? Right? We don't even watch TV. We're all on our devices. And I feel like this is happening in millions of homes.
Oh, it's this whole movement of cut the cable.
Exactly.
And it's like, I hate even saying it because I did it and I should be, because it doesn't matter. We as actors should be watching everything that's out there, but I'm like, I don't have to watch it today. Even my episode of To Tell the Truth, it'll be, it airs today, it'll be on Hulu tomorrow, So if you cut the cable and then just rely on your internet, I went from probably that to maybe, less, but I know my mom is probably she's single. she's a widow. I made it sound like she's a swinging single in her 80s or however old she is. But I think she's paying like $200 because when her nephews and when my brother comes over, she wants to have a box in every room, and you're like, you don't need that. I'm like, you don't even need all that. You can just watch it on your phone or on your iPad and save $150. I think I went from probably a couple $100 to $50 a month, I think, just for get fast internet, and everything you want is on there. So I don't know if I'm shooting myself in the foot, but I mean, that's the way it's going, because my goodness, $300. And a lot of people that I know, my friend Terry, who owns Binions and Four Queens, he has all the sports packages. So he's like, it's just him and his wife. Granted, he has the money, but I don't know, 300, 350 a month just to be able for entertainment, like
not worth it. Not worth it. Agreed.
You can get an antenna, and watch HD TV over the air antennas for free, and a good strong internet signal, and that's all you need. And it's on demand. It's like, what do I want to watch today? It's right there. So
absolutely.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. Yes, I agree. It's definitely changing, and we still love our content. We still want to watch those great shows and that great content that the producers and the directors are putting out there, and especially independent ones as well.
And now we've added this, and this, Nye, this whole social audio, and you're helping contribute to the enormous amount of content that's out there, and that's something that I'm working on an app, to cull all that information, because it's amazing how much content is out there, especially now with social audio, the explosion of social audio and podcasting, just like we're doing.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. And I think it definitely is the way of the future. And I want to thank you for being on this podcast together as our podcast family, and our tribe. And we are so thankful. I have a couple more questions, and I'm going to hand it over to Paul. You worked with Quentin Tarantino's production team, and you also worked with Jim Henson of the Muppets. Is that right, Nye?
No. I worked at Jim Henson's studio there, the Jim Henson Company there in LA, but I worked for his children. Brian and Lisa Henson were running the company at the time that I worked there. So I worked directly under them.
Wow.
Because Mr. Henson himself has long been passed away. So I worked for Brian and Lisa, and they were, what can I say about that experience? I mean, my takeaway from that experience was this. And that expression, the grass is not always greener on the other side. We've all heard that expression, right? I remember, I have to take you back to earlier in the conversation when I said, after I graduated film school, you sit back and you think to yourself, well, I'm not born into this business. I'm not a Brian and Lisa Henson. My dad wasn't Jim Henson. Or when I was working at Roger Corman, his son worked at the company too. And we kind of formed a little bond back then, right? And I tied him into my statement. What I took away, and I'm trying to say this carefully because I don't want to say anything that may seem disrespectful to the Henson kids. How should I say this?
It was a once in a lifetime experience.
It was a once in a lifetime experience, and no, they were wonderful to work for. But it reminded you, family doesn't always want to follow in the family business. You know what I'm saying? It's like, just because your dad or your mom is who they are, doesn't mean the kids want that too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when you're an outsider looking in, you probably think, oh, if my parent was so-and-so, I would be so thrilled and I could do this and I would be easy to get in. You never really think about, oh, so you have no interest in this business at all.
Wow.
Wow, that's interesting. So you don't want to run the family company. You don't want to be a boss. You don't want anything to do with this at all. That's very fascinating. So I've had experiences, that was a takeaway, right? That was a takeaway. Now, but working for the both of them they were very kind. I remember at the time, Brian Henson was dating, I don't know if he's still dating this woman. Ione Skye, I think is her name. She was in the actress. She was in Legend, I believe. And that film Legend that came out in the 80s, I think, with Tom Cruise. And I remember one day, I'll never forget this. I remember one day I was sitting at my desk and I didn't know she was in his office. And the radio was on and I was singing, right? I was singing really kind of low to the music. And all of a sudden she comes out and she's like, is that you singing? Were you just singing to that song? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh my God, your voice is so beautiful. I would buy your album. Are you a singer? I'm like, no, I'm not. Actually, I'm a writer. She's like, oh, your voice is so beautiful. I just love it. You should sing. I would buy your album. So yeah, no, but it was a great experience I worked in the marketing department at Henson. And it was again, one of those gigs where you are blessed to learn the business side of the Muppets,
Yes. Were there Muppets there that they have them on display or?
Oh, they're everywhere. There are Muppets everywhere. There's Muppets everywhere. The entire compound is a Muppet. Okay, so.
Well, it's funny. The grass is always greener on the other side. And no one knows, everyone has a cross to bear.
Yeah.
And we from the outside look in, you're like, oh my God, my life would be so much easier had this, blah, blah, blah. And then other people are probably looking at us going like, oh, you don't know how lucky you are. You don't have to do this,
Right.
You're here because you want to, or, any of those examples. But yeah, everyone has a cross to bear and we're all, it's not any easier what you're going through than what I'm going through. But yeah, I think that's a great story.
Yeah, I've had it's interesting because I've done freelance for a very long time as a celebrity reporter, and I've often had moments where I've thought, oh, I would love to work in the newsroom at TMZ, or I would love to work in the entertainment news, at the newsroom of like Entertainment Tonight, or a entertainment news show on the E Network, right? And I can't tell you the number of times I've been at red carpet events or a junket or something, right? And a reporter from one of these outlets, a staff reporter, a full-time staff reporter, will come up to me and say, you're so lucky you're freelance.
Wow.
Okay. And it's like interesting because I enjoy the freelance life. I have no complaints really. There are a few. But I'm always like, I want your job though. I want your job.
Wow.
So,
Amazing. Okay.
I'm the same way as a business owner, and it's I feel like I've lived my life in reverse where, my first business, this Oberweis Dairy of Geneva. Oh, I was like 23 and that was my first business. And I haven't stopped since, whether it's, U.S. Hair Force, which was a hair salon, or Bob Cabs, a taxi cab company, and then Vato Cigars. And then also being an actor. I mean, you're in business for yourself, which is that you're the product. And then now, as I've gotten way older, I'm like, I would love to just work for someone. I mean, this is, I think, what I'm not working for AJ, but we're working together and she's doing it all, she directs the company. She's doing this. And for me, it's just like, this is so refreshing because I don't have to make any decisions. I don't have to be up 24/7 worrying about something. I still do about Vato Cigars and, but it's like, oh, how lovely would it be to just work for somebody for 8 hours a day, get a check, everything is good. And then I think about it, I'm like, I don't know if I could do that. I'd rather work 16 hours a day for myself than 8 hours a day for someone else. But I'm like, I don't know. I think I would. So if anyone wants to give me a CEO job somewhere or some corporate job, I'll accept, I accept your offer.
You're hired.
Thank you.
Right, Nye? Oh, that's great. Okay, well, we're coming to the end of the show. We need to start wrapping it up, unfortunately. I'm so sorry, but you know what? I've had such a wonderful time, and I hope you have too, Nye. And
Absolutely.
we're gonna do as Yvette Vargas's tradition, we're gonna do final thoughts. So I'm gonna go over to you, Paul, first, and then Nye. Take it away, Paul.
Wonderful. Well, I think I've already said I think I've already said too much. But thank you so much, AJ, for putting this program together and allowing us to meet amazing and talented people that we know from Clubhouse. Yes, but you don't get to know someone until you kind of come face to face with them. And again, I keep mentioning this. It's like, this is the reason I want to do my travel show and meet people that I've only met on social audio or social media. But I'd love to come through Chicago and have Nye show me around her neighborhood, her family.
Oh.
Take me to Columbia College. I had a friend who used to teach improv there who since passed away, Jim Zulovic. I know of Columbia, but I've never been there. But maybe we meet there and have coffee there or something.
Absolutely.
Because I know it's such a Chicago institution. And then we go over to hang out at the Second City and because that was so integral to me. But imagine going to, I don't know, to the UK or Australia or Thailand or Africa and meeting people that I've made these connections with and getting to do that. So every day it's a step closer, and it's so inspirational to meet people like you, Nye, that have, that are freelance. You're so lucky you're a freelancer. So I'm just kidding. So thank you. Thank you for being here and allowing us to learn a little bit about your life. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for AJ and Paul. Thank you for having me. I'm always so very humbled when anyone is interested in hearing me talk about my journey. And I know I can get long-winded. So AJ, I hope I answered your questions fairly. And I agree with you, Paul. I can't tell you how I got on that Clubhouse app out of curiosity, because I had heard about it and I heard it was wild, and I didn't know what I was going to get out of it until I made the app make sense for me, right? And I've met so many wonderful people like you, like AJ, like the Angel. Can I tell you really quickly how long I've been trying to get up on Yvette's stage, and the fact that Yvette has finally noticed me and she even acknowledges me. I can't even tell you. One day I was telling my mom, Yvette notices me. My mother's like, who the hell is Yvette?
We love Yvette. She is amazing. She is behind. Yeah, I hear you. Go ahead. Absolutely.
No, but I'll end on that. It's just meeting so many wonderful people and connecting with authentic people like Yvette, like you, and the handful of people on this app. So thank you for today. Thank you for this opportunity. And I will end on this. My favorite quote is from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which I saw in the late 80s. And that quote is, "Don't dream it, be it." And ever since I heard that as a young girl, I said, that's my motto in life. Don't dream it, be it. And I feel like I'm living that, my dreams. I'm like living the dreams that I had as a child. So I leave that for your audience. Don't dream it, be it.
I love that. Don't dream it, be it. And we're going to take your advice, Nye, and we're going to live it. That's our dream. We're going to live our dream. So thank you so much again. We appreciate you. We love you. And we look forward to seeing you again, having you come on the show again, and also seeing you on Clubhouse. So until next time, I usually say this, we are such a fan of yours, and we forever will be, Nye. And we send you hugs and kisses and lots of hearts your way. Thank you again, Nye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And Paul, thank you too.
It's my absolute pleasure. So thank you for having me. And thanks for the interview, Nye.
Thank you.